How does that
No,
look?
I'm not saying that. You get some sense that there's a handful of stocks.
Look at that. I mean, you could tie that to the market. Bang. So, Tim, I'm going to
Yeah.
say a couple things. Just
Yeah.
sort of bear
Yeah.
with me here.
Uh,
You know, as we sit here,
I always
the Fed
do.
is
Yep.
the Fed is definitely in play. And I was thinking about Loretta Mester, and then I realized Loretta Mester, who, by the way, runs the Cleveland Fed.
Is that how you pronounce her name? I always thought it was Meister, like Burgermeister, Meisterburger, Heatmeister, Snowmeister. No,
Can I tell you something? The Burgermeister Meisterburger, that I believe is a Year Without a
Santa Claus. Yeah,
one of my favorites. And he had a cast on his right leg because he stepped on a toy, if you recall.
He was a mean guy, and they stole that from so many things. I mean, like that theme of the guy who's really just aggravated because of a sore foot, but he was great. You and I have discussed this. Rankin Bass outdid themselves on that holiday special. So anyway, why are we talking about this?
No, if that's on, by the way, you can't turn away. So if you're flipping the channels and you find your way to A Year Without a Santa Claus, you're not changing. I don't care what's on.
No,
you're watching it.
By the way, with a young Fred Astaire in kind of claymation, I believe he's narrating and maybe singing along. And it's really, for those people who don't know about Freddie, I mean, again, it's a chance to look back on one of the great talents in history. But again, why are we talking about this? Why are we talking about Ms. Meister?
You brought up the Meisterburger. I wasn't, but it's Loretta Mester, because Ann Mira was married to Jerry Stiller. Their son was Ben Stiller. And that hair you got going on is right out of a Ben Stiller movie. Now, I don't need you to comment. I'm just saying.
I know which movie you're talking about, and he had an unfortunate situation that happened to him, and ultimately his hair got stuck up in one. I'm having a chance to see myself through the screen here, and it's a little funky, but bear with me, man. I mean, come on. I can't look as well groomed as you. You probably got your hair cut yesterday.
I try to keep it tight. Now, there's a reason why, you probably were out last night having fun, doing, New York City types of things.
It's nice that you and I are both huge New York Rangers fans, and we can talk about this mutually as fans, because sometimes it's nice to have that adversarial jousting in sports, but it's also nice to kind of be homies with our New York Rangers. I went to the world's most famous arena last night and saw our team win, I don't know, their fourth or fifth in a row. But I mean, it's very early, and this is, we play 82 games in the NHL this year, finally. Again, thank you. It's a long season, but I went to see the Rangers last night. I got to tell you, first of all, the team looks good. But I felt like, and I'm not a boomer. You're closer to boomer, but by definition, we are not boomers. I felt like a boomer at the Garden last night.
I am a boomer. I was born in 1963, which is the final year of boomers. I was going to have a birthday soon. So,
all right, so
I'm right
it.
there. You are not. I mean, you're whatever the next gen is.
Well, so if you think about, so last night, here's my boomer experience. Combination of my tickets were sent to me electronically.
Sure.
And then they were supposedly loaded into my Ticketmaster account. And of course, when I get up to the gate to get in, I can't get in because that ticket's gone. My phone is on fumes, by the way. And what happens to the guy when he shows up with his e-ticket and his phone backs out? I mean, has that ever happened to you?
No, because I was at an airport recently and I made them print out a paper ticket. If I go to a games, I am that person. I'm that person in those commercials.
Well, I get it, and I, fortunately, I got through that, almost calamity. But then, what I found is, dude, I'm walking around the Garden, and yeah, I'm kind of old school, and like you, I got my fistful of dollars in my pocket, wrapped in a rubber band, and I can't spend cash anywhere in the Garden. My host Tony last night. I wanted to buy him a couple beers. We walk up. I'm slapping down a couple 20s because it's at least $20 a beer. By the way, how about you can't buy a regular sized beer at the Garden anymore?
You mentioned Fistful of Dollars, which happens to be one of my top 5 Clint Eastwood movies. If you had to watch a Clint movie, which would you watch?
Josie Wells. I mean, there's so many great lines from that movie. Anyway, so we're talking about Clint. We're at the Garden. We're old school, and I can't spend any money anywhere. And look, here's where we're going with this. Last time I looked at the charts, Visa, Amex, and Mastercard were near 25 to 30% off of all-time highs, trading as if they're going out of business in a world where cashless payments or digital transactions are what all we know about, all we can do. As much as I want to be a cash basis guy, and I know you are a guy who is a cash basis guy. So how is it that these stocks, in a world where we're in a holiday season, the consumer's never been, I think, probably armed with more spending power, more fired up to spend, to go to places like the Garden. Why are these stocks trading as if suddenly digital payments are a thing of yesterday and we're going back to the cash standard?
That's a great question, and I've struggled with that as well. I think there are a couple factors at work here. I think the variants got people scared. I think there's this concern that they're going to be lockdowns. You're seeing it in Europe to a certain extent. You're seeing it in other places. Maybe that's part of it. Whether that happens or not, I'm not saying. I think that's factored in. The other thing, as interest rates have gone higher, I think people get more concerned about valuation. These stocks have historically been expensive, but nobody's cared. Now with rates going higher, people seem to.
Well, I'm a stickler for valuations, but I looked at Visa yesterday and in anticipation of not in anticipation of going to the Garden and being unable to present cash, but because these stocks have been catching my eye at a time when obviously Bitcoin near all-time highs. We know what's going on in crypto, but that's not the story here. I mean, Visa's trading at roughly 26, 27 times next 12 months earnings, NTM, as we say in the biz, guy. And relative to kind of 3 and 5 year averages of somewhere in the low to mid 30s. So to me, the stock's cheap. If you look at just trends on digital payments, and I happen to have checked this out recently, 6.6 trillion spent in digital payments last year. That's up 40% in the last 2 years. Like so many things, accelerated through COVID. How do you explain that these stocks are trading as if they're actually going out of business? And do you think it is because of Bitcoin? I mean, well, I don't know what you.
So here's how my mind works. When you said NTM, the first thing I thought of was Annie-M, and then of course I think of the Wizard of Oz,
too.
and then I think the most misunderstood character was the Wicked Witch of the West. I think she was completely misunderstood.
Was that Glenda?
No. Glenda was the good witch. Glenda was the good witch.
She was
Glenda
sweet.
was the one that
she was sweet.
Was she sweet? I want you to think about that. But I will tell you, the villain, the real villain of the Wizard of Oz, is not the witch.
Dorothy.
The villain is
the wizard.
It's the wizard, without question. So that's how my mind works. I don't even know what your question is, because once I heard Annie M, I went straight to Wizard of Oz.
Well, I was asking you, do you think Bitcoin is the wizard here to Visa?
I think that's exactly right. I think the Bitcoin is the wizard to the Wicked Witch of the West, Visa, and I think the Scarecrow was a lot smarter than people made him out to be. How about that?
Well, and that's fair, and I would make an argument that maybe Mastercard is the Scarecrow. So the Cowardly Lion, who played the Cowardly Lion? You know this, don't you?
Burt Lahr.
It's unbelievable. And I mean, and I did that just to tee you up for the folks at Reach TV, just to see what kind of a savant you are on this kind of useless information. Right. So the Cowardly Lion is almost Visa here. I mean, I think you've got a case here where actually Visa should be pounding its chest as the king of the jungle right now. It's the leader in global cashless, digital payments. And as far as I'm concerned, in a world where Bitcoin, yes, and cashless payments and the blockchain, like, you can't tell me that Visa's not going to be at the head of the class. Yeah, maybe fees compress and this and that, but I walk around with like 3 Visa cards in my pocket. I'm not going to change that.
You are a hitter. And just as we get out of here, people call him the Cowardly Lion, but if you remember late in the movie, as they were scaling the mountain on their way to the witch's castle, he was the one that was leading the way, Tim Seymour.
Guy, we may not be off to see the wizard, but we're here every night, 6 p.m., Reach TV. You folks wandering around the airport and settling in at a bar or a lounge or something like that, you're not going to get rid of us. We're here.
That's Tim Seymour. I'm Guy Adami. Tim, what are we?
We are Commercial Break.